conditions twice as severe as any prison. And during that time, if anybody is so convinced that there's really evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that we were guilty, my question is, why can't we have a fair trial? And the question for the jurors who happen to be here, I don't expect jurors to turn around 180 degrees because of what I'm saying today and decide, now I think he's 100% innocent. But rather, I would just ask you to consider whether you would trust another juror to make a decision about this case with all the evidence. That's a question that I would ask you to consider as individuals, not as a group. Whether you would trust another jury to make the right decision with all the evidence. And I would encourage you to ask what you would want if it was you, or your friend, or your family member, or someone you cared about who was on trial, whether you think it would be fair for a jury to hear evidence of other suspects, whether you think it would be fair for the defendant to have a right to testify. Now, with the court's permission, I would like to continue. I have a few more things I want to say about the actual evidence in this case. And my comments today are for the purpose of anybody who has any interest in the truth about this case. And one of the pieces of evidence that was available in 1994 was my car accident. And the state was fond of saying about this piece of evidence, what are the odds? What are the odds that a wrongfully accused person would have something about him that is distinctly suspicious? And if you were to check every case of a wrongful accusation, you will find that in every case there's going to be something that's distinctly suspicious. That's why people are wrongfully accused. And that's why there's the trial process and rules of evidence. It's kind of like asking, if you have 10 suspects for a crime, what are the odds that any of those 10 people are going to have something about them that's distinctly suspicious? It goes without saying that there's going to be something that's distinctly suspicious. But imagine you're the police officer working on the case in 1994. You've got two neighbors who heard the crime happen at a time when we couldn't have done it. You have this one suspicious piece of evidence. You don't know whether the person is guilty or not. There's two possibilities, guilt or innocence. The next step is undercover operation. But you're an experienced investigator. You think in advance, what are the two possible reactions to this undercover operation? Or rather, how are each of these two possible people going to react to this undercover operation? The RCMP testified they thought I was guilty. Naturally then, they expected that this hitman for hire was going to want to join their organization, was going to want all the money for crime and everything else that they offered. They found that that was not the case. They found, after the third meeting with me, they testified, in their opinion, no amount of money was going to tempt me to commit crimes for their organization. But again, imagine it's 1994. You're an experienced police officer, but you're thinking in advance about what kind of person you have, whether he's guilty or innocent. You know what you think is going to happen if he's guilty. What kind of a psychological profile do you have if this kid is innocent? The car accident kid, what's he like? Immature, irresponsible, doesn't know how to stick up for himself, doesn't know how to handle a crisis. How is that kid going to react to this undercover operation? Think in advance. What's he going to do when he meets these organized criminals? How's he going to react? And you're experienced enough to know that false confessions can occur. And you're experienced enough to know that if anybody's going to make a false confession in a situation like this, it's a kid like this. So how's he going to react? I'm here to tell you, exactly like I did, every step of the way, particularly after being cut off, as I've said, from normal life for 9 months. At first, intrigued, a little drunk, then realizes he's in over his head, makes excuse after excuse about why he doesn't want to join, doesn't know what to do. Later on, asks questions like, can you kill? Makes excuses like, I can't because my leg hurts. Someone puts $2,000 in his hand. He gets excited. And you know, I suppose some people would say, well, if someone gets excited over $2,000, that shows they're a criminal, that shows that they're guilty of murder. But I swear, there was at least a couple jurors who heard the recording of that and knew, at least at that moment, that that was the sound of a kid, an inexperienced kid, who had obviously just received a payoff for the biggest amount of money, for the biggest crime that he'd ever come near to in his life. And of course, right up into the end of the operation, I was being offered money. And in one of the last videos, I tell them, no, we won't want your money. In fact, maybe we'll pay you.